stats over politics. So we talked about LeBron James, the first overall pick in the 2003 NBA draft. We talked about Kevin Durant, the second overall pick in the 2007 NBA draft. Speaking of Kevin Durant, I made an amendum because it seemed like Garry wasn't satisfied with what I wrote on the sheet. So I scribbled out the word should and I wrote will. Kevin Durant will be the third best player on the Suns for them to win a championship.
I like
Take it
that
or leave
better,
it.
Sean.
There you
like
go.
that way better.
I'm glad that you're
Little number
satisfied.
outs. Okay. Katie, you hear that? You're the third best player. To two guys who are shorter than you. You got a better jumper. You've been way better your whole career. You're better now. You probably averaged more last year. Just to let you know, Katie.
I think he did because he averaged 26 points per game last year. But
All
hey,
right.
Kevin Durant, you're going to be 35 when the season starts. Sorry, father time gets everyone. Anyways, I mentioned the draft and where Kevin Durant was picked, where LeBron James was picked. I don't know off the top of Bradley Beal was like fourth overall in 2011, I think, something like that. I know it was fourth overall. Third overall. God damn it, I was so close. Thank you, Jaevon. Anyways, the point is that the NBA draft is coming up on Thursday, and there are two generational talents that will be taken at the very top. There's a lot of great players, and the Sacramento Kings, for the first time in a long time, the first time since 2005, the Kings are not in the NBA draft lottery as they have pick number 24. So, Kevin, I know you've been really locked in on this NBA draft, and so just give us a little preview of what people should expect to see on Thursday.
Yeah, and if everyone watched the draft lottery, like Shaun was mentioning, we saw that Victor Wembanyama was drafted to the Spurs at 1. So we can talk about other prospects in this draft class. I mean, honestly, he was asking him, how you think about your teammates, not even questioning like.
I've got an extension too, Kev.
Talking about, do you know who the number 2 pick is? Didn't even care. He said after 1, whoever it is, you get Victor. But like Shaun mentioned, there's a lot of other guys in this class besides Victor Wembanyama. You got Scoot Henderson, who potentially could be the next Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, John Morant hybrid. Going to G League Ignite for 2 years. He went his junior year of high school, so to get 2 years playing with pros really took his game to a next level, averaging 18.7 assists with 5 boards. That was a 6 points increase and 4 assists increase from his year before. So just being able to get 2 years in with pros really took a long way. Then you got Brandon Miller. It's really him and Scoot Henderson for the number 2 pick. I see a lot of Brandon Ingram and Paul George and Brandon Miller. I don't know if Toddy sees it. He's a 6'9" do-it-all wing that can do it all. He's really special. As if he can bring it in on both sides of the ball, I think he's really going to be able to hit that Paul George jump. But I definitely see a lot of Brandon Ingram. For him to be a freshman to come in there and average 19 points and 9 boards with 3 assists, he's just got to get more of a playmaker instinct. He's really just a dead-eye scorer, so I really think he could translate that to the next level.
Young Pat down.
So, a lot of people have been talking about the Thompson twins out of Overtime Elite. I think they're really going to be able to come and hit the NBA running. I honestly think that they have the weight of OTE on their back. If they don't come through and do anything good, OTE really might not be the thing. Just like with G League Ignite, if Kuminga and Jalen Green kind of turned out to be busts, was it really worth it? But I think the biggest sleeper in this draft is Cam Whitmore out of Villanova. I think he's going to be the next great 3-and-D wing that we talk about. A year from now, I think we'll talk about his impact no matter where he goes. But that's what everyone's looking for. You're looking for a 3-and-D guy. He's 6'7", and he's built like a linebacker at 232. So he already has that grown man strength. So I think he's really got to take it to the next level, and I can really see him kind of playing that OG Anunoby role for a team in the future.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of guys Kev pretty much already mentioned. A lot of guys they didn't mention, I kind of want to talk about. Jarris Walker from Houston is a guy that I really like. Played pretty well throughout the regular season. I thought he showed some flashes in the NCAA tournament. He probably might be a top 10 pick. Anthony Black, a lot of people are really low. I wouldn't say low on him, but he's like around that 10, 11, 12 range. I think he's a guy that could definitely go into the top 10 if drafted to the right team. Kevin is very high on Brandon Miller, a guy that probably could go number 2 overall. There were reports that came out for Charlotte that Scoot and Brandon Miller both were they were both working out for Charlotte at the same time, and Scoot basically just outperformed them pretty much in every statistical category you could think of. I'm not a guy that I was kind of high on Brandon Miller at first, like regular season, even up to the SEC tournament, kind of when all that stuff was kind of going around with him and his legal situation. But in the NCAA tournament, he didn't really play particularly well. Even in the game, they won I think they got to the Sweet 16 and ended up losing to San Diego State, if I'm mistaken. And he didn't play well. So in any of the NCAA games, that's kind of like your spotlight. All right, this is what you're going to look like. And, you know, the big dance, this is where all the NBA scouts are kind of looking at. And he kind of shit the bed a little bit. So not too up there on him for that, but he probably might be a guy that'll play pretty well. Brandon Ingram is all-star. I don't know. I don't see it in Brandon Miller. That's just me personally. I could be wrong. Kev or Shaun, you could write that on the notebook. I don't see it in Brandon Miller. And he could be a guy that kind of goes out and
I think he's a bust.
Yeah. Hey, I don't see it. Scoot, I see it. Wimpy, I see it. I like Cam Whitmore too. Kev kind of mentioned him. Villanova is a guy that kind of carried the team there. They kind of had a down year, but Whitmore is a guy that can score the ball, be a 3-and-D guy. I think he can create for himself. Him being, he's 6'9", Kev, you said?
6'7".
6'7". And for him to, you know, pretty much be built for the league, almost like a linebacker, as Kev already mentioned. I think he can be a guy that can definitely create for himself as well, too. Yeah, I mean, I love the Thompson twins. I think Amin is going to shock some heads. I want him to go to Orlando, but I don't think he'll be there. I think he'll be gone. I think he'll probably go to Detroit. It really just depends, because I think we're going to see a lot of movement going on, and I think pretty much after that number 2 pick is kind of when the real draft starts, and that's when, all right, who's going to go next? Who's moving up? Trades, we've already mentioned. Well, we didn't really mention, but, you know, there have been trade talks. Zion Williamson has kind of been on the trade block. Are we going to see guys moving in and out? All right, are the Blazers going to trade that 3 overall pick? Like, there's a lot of movement going on. So pretty much after those first 2 picks, we're going to see maybe even 3 picks. First 3 picks, we'll see like pretty much when the draft goes, because we can all universally agree that the top 3 picks are Wemby, Scoot, Brandon Miller, probably not. Or if you want to put some money on that, you might be able. I have to see what the plus minus would be for that. Could be a potential hotline. Who knows? We'll see. But I think pretty much after that 3rd overall pick is kind of when the draft really starts.
Kevin, you didn't look like you were convinced that the top 3 is locked in. What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't be surprised if one of the Thompson twins would jump to that top 3. I mean, I know a lot of people have character issues on Brandon Miller. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to jump into them. And it really changes the fact if one of those teams, like Toddy mentioned, trades the pick, and then now we're looking at the Hornets. You know, if Hornets get the 3 pick, do they want Brandon Miller? Do they want the Thompson twins? You know, you're looking for guys to play along B.I. and C.J. McCollum. Is Brandon Miller and B.I. really a good combo to play next to each other? So I really think it just depends on the picks. If it stays how it is now, I think it falls that way. But I think if a team gets in there into the 3 that we're not talking about, they can really change up the draft.
But a lot of people are kind of – oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
a lot of people are kind of they're afraid of the LaMelo Scoot combo. I don't know how that's going to work. Okay, so we've seen LaMelo. What is this, LaMelo's 3rd year going in? He's going into his 3rd year. He's already been hurt a couple of times, so injury is a concern. Is Scoot gonna be better than LaMelo? Who knows? It's a possibility, but we've already kind of seen, you know, LaMelo first couple of years, we saw them get to the play-in and they get blown out. I think if they
and then again, same thing again.
It happened twice. So if you pair him with Scoot and kind of just, I feel like you have to draft the best player possible. I think the best player possible is Scoot Henderson. I think it's better than Brandon Miller. So if he's available, I would take him. Rather than just trying to go with fit, I would best player possible. Kings fans can relate to that. Draft the best player possible, not draft the fit.
So, like, I understand that sometimes you're just referencing recent history that is accurate, but sometimes it also feels like you're just throwing unnecessary digs. Yeah, where he's like, he just had to mention former Sacramento Kings coach Michael Malone wins a championship.
I know.
Hey, do you remember when the Kings didn't pick best player available and then Damian Lillard went? Yeah.
Thomas Robinson.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So Gary, we haven't heard much from you so far about the draft. So do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I don't really watch too much of the college basketball and stuff in that nature, but obviously I know a little bit about this top 10. I would just say that's crazy. I was gonna say that was gonna be my point I was gonna stick to, where like I feel like NFL wise, I always say draft. I feel like you should draft best player in your position unless you need a major quarterback or unreal talents out there. And I feel like for basketball, I feel like you should most of the time you should draft the best player, like kind of Vaughn said. Us as Kings fans have been hurt by that many times. Many teams have been hurt by this, trying to draft based on upon a team. You know, our team was helped by this, like the kind of situation last year where I feel like we drafted a player that we needed a position for in Keegan Murray. But at the same time, I feel like that third and fourth pick was so close that that factor can take that over. You know what I'm saying? So when all you take multiple factors of what your team needs, you know, what is the gap between the three players that you're looking at. And I would say, especially NBA, go with the most potential talent. I'm gonna go with the talent right now, and also the good person and basketball IQ. I feel like all those types of things are kind of like obviously their game and things like that. I'm talking about outside basketball, where I feel like the small things where you're picking hairs on players, I feel like it's gonna matter in the long run. So in my opinion, I like Scoot Henderson a lot, especially we already know he has already a NBA type body already. So I feel like I think the Hornets, you know, with the newly owner and things of that nature, should really draft Scoot Henderson and just pair him up, because I know we are saying they play this position and things of that nature, but we all know LaMelo Ball is a little bit taller for his as a point guard as well, and plus he's a very passive player. I feel like he's always good at shooting with the ball, and I feel like he can get improved on catch and shooting. So I feel like those two can really work it out and really make things work. I feel like for them, they still need to build some foundation. So I still feel like they should be in the business of drafting talent. And most of these teams who are in the high number picking areas, remember when you get down to the Kings, you get down to where, you know, all the good teams are and who made the playoffs, then I would say maybe you would lean more towards having a player that's going to be more helpful to you next year, maybe in a positional type era. But I would say for the top 10 teams picking the lottery, you should be going with the best player available most of the time, because that's what's going to be. At the end of the day, you want the best players on your teams, no matter what position. We always talk about how the NBA is going positionless. So when you have the best five best players on the floor who are all working together, I feel like that's the best way in the NBA, especially nowadays. So I feel like that was I feel like what teams should look at and what they should do. We already know that Victor's going first. That's already done, cooked. Get his jersey signed that day if you want it. So I feel like it's going to be really cool to see who goes next. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of guards in this. There's been a lot of guards obviously coming up in a lot of these drafts. So it's always interesting to see what guards, you know, the guards I feel like is the hardest position to kind of pick, because there's so many. And, you know, they all most of the time you have the ball in your hand as a point guard in college and these other levels. You're scoring a lot of points, especially nowadays, things of that nature. So you're always looking good, and the coach usually is running the system through you as a point guard in these lower levels. So it's really interesting to see what guys are going to translate. It's, you know, really neat, to be honest with you, to see two twins as a top 10 picks. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. Shout out to their parents or their support system. You know what I'm saying? Even to be in the mention to be top 10, that's pretty like ridiculously crazy. So shout out to them to even accomplishing that. So it's going to be a good draft. Can't wait to start looking more deep into the players as me as an NBA fan after they get drafted, to see what their situations are going to look like.
Kev, you think Grady Dick going top 10?
He has to.
Who?
Grady Dick from Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys seen the ridiculous headlines that people have come up with just involving Grady Dick?
Him and Suggs.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Jaevon, just look up. Well, no, that's not a good idea.
Don't say that, Shaun. I knew what you were going to say.
Look up Grady Dick. Just look up Grady Dick. You'll find some stuff. But the way that I kind of think about Victor Wembanyama being like such a foregone conclusion to the Spurs at number one is it almost feels like he's like a high school senior that has already signed his letter of intent to go play college somewhere, and then they go and they play spring ball and they spend the end of their senior year already on the college campus because they've already like gotten involved with the program. If that was actually legal, and also if he didn't already have a French league that just finished up, then I would see that he would already be there. But he has to wait a little bit longer. The good news that we have gotten for us here in Sacramento, regardless of who you are a fan of, even this applies to Jaevon as a Celtics fan and as a basketball fan, is that the California Classic will be back again in Sacramento this year. And this year, the San Antonio Spurs, the Charlotte Hornets, they will be participating in it. And a lot of people were saying, a lot of people were saying because Victor Wembanyama, they were saying because he had a French league season to finish that he most likely wasn't going to play in the summer league. Then reports came out in like the last week where Victor and his people are saying, no, we're playing in the summer league. And I just think that that is awesome. And if he suits up in his NBA uniform for the very first time in Sacramento, that would be pretty damn cool. So Kevin, Sacramento, the Kings pick at number 24. And to me, there's three prospects that seem like the best fit, but also realistically would be available there at number 24. Two of them we have talked about a lot. The first one being Imani Bates, who you and Jaevon, Kevin, you guys back and forth about him a lot.
Damn, I was gonna say that
he's a guy who has top 5 talent, but then he has had some off the court issues that have led to him transferring from Memphis, but he is still a top talent. So there's Imani Bates. Then there's Chris Murray, the twin brother of Keegan on the Sacramento Kings, coming out of Iowa. But then there's also Jaime Jaquez coming out of UCLA, who he lit the league on fire, or he lit college on fire, I should say, when Jalen Suggs was battling against him in the Final Four. And so those are the three names that I'm kind of eyeballing for the Kings there at number 24. What do you think, Kevin?
I'm not going to lie to you. It took me a long time to really be sold on Chris Murray. I thought when I would see mock drafts of the Kings taking him at 24, it's really just lazy, just because we have Keegan, we're just going to draft his twin. But I looked at the numbers and Duke can shoot it. He from his freshman to sophomore leap, he really had to play behind Keegan this freshman year. Yeah, he's left-handed. And he got to run the show and do his thing. But out of those three names, I'm definitely going to root for our Imani Bates. For him to average 19.2 points and 6 boards, shooting 46% from the field. Everyone wants to talk about his Memphis season. That was literally his senior year of high school. He reclassified to go to Memphis, knowing he couldn't go to the job because he wasn't going to be old enough. So I think that was, you're getting your feet wet, you're throwing you in the deep end. You have all the hype. You're playing with Jalen Duren, another top 10 kid in the country, with Penny Hardaway. So just playing with a lot of that and just being in that culture and being in that field and seeing him go to Eastern Michigan and really do his thing. I really wasn't sold on him. You guys can want to mention the group chat. Toddy was preaching it since Eastern Michigan played Michigan game 1. Toddy said, Kevin, turn on the TV, Kevin. Watch Imani Bates. I'm like, Toddy, I don't care about it, but I'm sold. We definitely needed another 3-and-D kind of guy. And like Shaun mentioned, he has top 5 talent. If you would have told me 3 years ago, people were talking about Imani Bates be number 1. It was him and Victor. And he kind of fell off, but I definitely think Imani Bates can definitely come in and be a huge piece for us. And, him alongside Malik Monk coming off the bench, we'd just only improve our bench unit.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, well, Jaevon, you love it. I know you're not a Kings fan, but this is a Sacramento-based podcast. So who should the Kings target at 24 that's realistically going to be available there?
I was seeing Chris Murray a lot, Keegan reference. I was seeing Jaime Jaquez. I think that's probably the road that you guys will end up going down. But as far as people I want you to draft, it's got to be Imani Bates. It has to be. Has to be. It really has to be. Imagine him coming off of the bench for this now Kings team, who is, fresh off the playoffs, number 3 seed, whoop-de-whoop-whoop. If De'Aaron Fox is a broken finger hand away from advancing, you add Imani Bates to this, I think he can give you a lot of scoring off of the bench. He's a guy that can definitely give you he'd be basically the powder keg off the bench. And I think he comes in summer league in front of those Sacramento fans and he lights the whole thing on fire. A lot of people are going to start talking about him. But what I realistically think is going to happen is probably Jaime Jaquez, a big that you guys always, we need a big. We need a big. A guy that can shoot. Somebody. This is the guy that he can shoot it now. He's the guy, if you guys watched him over his years at UCLA, he can definitely clean the glass and he can shoot. He'd probably be a guy that would probably end up coming off the bench.
So he's like Sabonis' height or shorter.
I think he's like 6'10". I think he's like 6'10", if I'm not mistaken. But
I think you're mistaken.
I think you're mistaken. I've seen him in person.
He's like 6'6".
He gets buckets. I'm not gonna lie, but
he's little.
yeah,
Bro, he's tiny. He's a forward. I don't know why you keep talking about a big man. He's 6'6". Just because he played big man at UCLA.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that he'll probably come off the bench, just be a guy that can stretch, another guy that can stretch the floor, a wing-ish type.
We got
player.
Metu,
but Metu can't shoot. But
Metu ain't coming back there. Sorry to break it to
my
you.
guy.
It's business time.
I think you guys will end up drafting Jaime, but I want you guys to draft Imani Bates, or we'll take him.
Okay, Gary, who do you think the Kings should draft at number 24?
To be honest, I have no clue. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I like all these players.
Amazing analysis.
I'm being honest. I don't lie. I don't know who. I
just
told you I'm a novice in terms of the draft, in terms of who's coming out. I like to see them when they set foot in the league. But I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, us being Kings fans, us know about Keegan Murray's brother. Obviously, it'd be cool. I know Kevin said I would still say, yeah, I don't care whose brother's who. Obviously, you should pick with the this is business. Chris Paul went on Good Morning America today after he got traded and said, it's business. I'm an NBA vet, so just like it's business like that, they should obviously pick the best player that's going to help us win. Like Kev said, it's winning time, it's go time. So we got to be, feelings might get hurt, things of that nature. We got to do best things, what's best for our Kings organization. But like you said, hey, he's a guy who's a similar height as his brother. You know what I'm saying? He can shoot as well. Like Kevin said, he was putting up great numbers in college. He played there for a few years, so he got a little bit under his belt. I'm pretty sure he probably learned a lot of little hints and tricks from just being Keegan's brother now, just his rookie year. You know what I'm saying? Just talking to him probably. Obviously they have their own individual seasons in their own places, but that just being probably helpful, especially during this time, during the basically setting your brother up for, what's to come. So that's a cool thing for him. Again, Imani Bates, we know he is the top ranked talent that I feel like that'd be great for our team as well. So I feel like a lot of these guys that we're talking about, I feel like can fit perfectly. The good thing is that I feel like, again, we were deep. We made a good run last year. We obviously were close to making the second round, just a Steph Curry 50 ball away from getting to the next round. And, yeah, so I feel like we just need a couple things here and there. I feel our main focus, obviously, is going to be a little bit more towards who we're going to get in the offseason in terms of free agency, maybe to pick a couple guys up, sign some key guys. And I know we don't sign. I mean, I don't feel like Vaughn. I thought Vaughn was about to shake his head like, you guys don't sign nobody. But hopefully we can sign some guys that, see potential and a great culture in Sacramento now. And I think that also being in Cali, not too far away from everywhere else. Also, I think the main thing is that, hey, trust in Monty. He's been doing a great last few years of draft. I already know he drafted Jaevon. He drafted who we traded away, obviously, in Tyrese, so a great player. So he's been having a good draft, I feel like, as a GM. So I think they're going to do their due diligence and make the right decision, the best for the Kings. So it's going to be cool to see who they can get here to fit our puzzle. Any of these guys, I feel like would be cool. I don't know about the Jaime. He gets a lot of buckets, but like we just discussed, we need more height on our team right now because especially as we know, we're going to have to go through the Joker now. The league is changing a little bit. Steph Curry and them, made a small ball for a little bit, and nope. And they're kind of going back to how it was before. You need a couple big guys on the floor. Now those big guys just got to be able to shoot a little bit. So I would say, keep in mind we're going to be playing KD and his long Phoenix Suns and maybe obviously the Lakers with Anthony Davis, big body self, and the Joker. So those are the guys we're going to have to get through to get to the finals. I don't know, Ja?
Well, the news came down. Oh, sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
Money Magic?
I got a hot take for you, Toddy. For the hotline. Chet Holmgren plus 450, rookie of the year. We can move on.
No. Hell no.
It's already in France. Throw some money on?
It's already in
Chet Holmgren, you'd be surprised. He's had a year in the lab.
Nah, but they got a lot of players on his team, though.
That'd be good.
You're not going to score enough.
That's good value, though. Plus 450 is great value.
You don't know.
It's already in France. It's in France.
As we've seen this year, they goes to the guy scoring the most buckets on the shittiest team sometimes.
Man,
but hey,
he'll be a playoff team. He'd be a good team.
Shaun, do we see
Money
Magic during this draft? Like, are there going to be any trades? Maybe we know he's an aggressive guy. Usually, he's had great draft picks, as Gary already mentioned. Do we see maybe the Kings kind of moving up in the draft a little bit? Maybe getting in the top 10. Maybe they might.
What do the Blazers do, guys? Too.
Do you guys want to see Jaevon go crazy right now?
I do.
So I got Sports Center muted on my TV in front of me, and I just saw a player featured because they're talking about the Bradley Beal trade. The Kings aren't going to get Bradley Beal, but I saw another player featured on my screen when they were talking about Bradley Beal. I saw a Kyle Kuzma. Jaevon, what do you think about Kyle Kuzma? Maybe a draft day deal for Kyle Kuzma? See, no, that's the wrong Toronto player, Gary. We're not even talking about Siakam right now. If anything, it's OG Anunoby or Kuzma.
I know, but they've been trying to give too much for OG. All those deals you guys been sending him, some of them are horrible deals.
He's a superstar guy.
Yeah, some of these trade proposals that I've seen for OG is just like ridiculous. Beyond me. Like maybe I'm just uneducated, but to me, I'm like, why are you going to give up all of that for OG Anunoby? But Jaevon, I just had to throw that name out there to answer your original question. I wouldn't be surprised if Monty got active on draft day. He's very good at his job. I think he's proven that, and that's why he got the executive of the year. That's why he got the contract extension. And I'm going to choose to be a little bit like Gary here, and I'm just going to wait and see. And we will talk about it more on next week's episode of Stats Over Politics, because